This is Gareth Southgate, and this is the Three Lions podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Three Lions podcast. My name is Russell Osborne and this is an independent England football supporters podcast, where basically I try and talk anything England, be it games, opponents, look at the history of the Three Lions, the future of the Three Lions. And in the past I've spoken with managers, physios, chefs, authors and mainly supporters, because that's what makes the game tick. As the saying goes, and as something we've learned over recent times, football without fans is nothing. It is always great to speak with England fans, to hear of their journeys following our national team, and they can all be heard over at threelionspodcast.com or on your usual podcast provider. Now, I've recently had a longish conversation with an England fan who hasn't missed many England games since his first one back in 1988. I say it's longish. He had a lot to say. So I've decided to split this one over 2 episodes. Now, regular England fans will recognise the face. Some may not know the name. This is part 1 of my chat with Coventry and England fan Brian Wright.
Now, following England both home and away, you'll see many familiar faces, but perhaps you just don't know the names. It's always good to speak with England fans, and this one will be a familiar one, although maybe for a more being seen at the snooker or the one with Shrek. You know the one I mean. I'd like to welcome to the Three Lions podcast, England and Coventry fan. It's Brian Wright. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Russell. You all right?
No, very well. Yourself?
Yeah. I'm just coming down from what was a brilliant summer for us, really, as a nation and as a team.
Absolutely.
But I think it's slightly marred by, completely marred at the end by the thugs, the drunken yobs, people trying to get in and did get in without tickets. And obviously, the racists are absolutely disgusting what the England players got after the final whistle, missing penalties. There's no place for that, in football or in society, really. And because of all that, I feel we've been denied almost sort of celebrating how far England did get and how close we were to actually lifting the trophy, really.
Yeah, you're right, because I hadn't really thought of it like that. And like you, that the whole final has been sort of tarnished by the whole events around it. I feel we've got a long, long way to go to even tackle the racism side of things. But the whole, the storming of Wembley and that sort of thing really puts a sour note in your mouth. And you're right, we haven't really had a chance to appreciate how far we actually came, how close we nearly were. And yeah, you're right, because in past tournaments, we actually have sort of appreciated how far we went, haven't we?
You go back to Italian 90 and the England team flew back into Luton and they had open top bus going around, famously with Gazza with his fake breasts and his big belly.
Yeah.
And everyone was celebrating what an achievement that was. And Euro 96, when we got to semi-finals and lost some penalties, as we do, it was like we gained respect again as a football nation. Players were walking tall. As they came out for their club sides start that season, England players were getting applauded from opposition's fans just for the achievements. And I feel we've been denied that. We've lost that, really, for this tournament. And yet we should be not celebrating failure, but, it's relative success for us as a nation getting to a final and penalty kicks away from winning a final.
Absolutely.
And the ride we had, what summer, the Germany game, last 16, really, stays in the mind. The atmosphere of that game, leading up to it, during that, and after, just, that'll stay with me forever, that one. it don't come along very often, does it?
No.
England fans.
Was that your game of the tournament, the Germany one?
Yeah, I was too nervous for the Denmark one. Just wanted to get over the line. The Scotland one that we all thought about, Euro 96 and Gaza and David Seaman's save, it didn't materialise, did it?
It was a damn squib, wasn't it?
It was a shocker, really. It was like the worst game of the tournament. But, just winning that opening game of the tournament, it set us up, really, I think. And if we could have got to Rome, would have been perfect as well. As fans, would have loved to have gone out there and got behind the team. But yeah, I think the Germany last 16 was definitely the match that I enjoyed most. The Italy one, it was a great occasion to be there, in the final. It was there for us, really. The game was there for us, but I just think we didn't change tactics again. I just, a bit like Russia when we got semi-final against Croatia, we just came up short, I think, when it came to being proactive substitutions. Instead of bringing players on, I thought, just to take penalty kicks, I thought we should have been bringing players on to try and win the game in extra time.
Yeah.
But that's being greedy, I suppose.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong with being greedy, is there? We want to see England win. We want to see them lift a trophy. And, maybe that was the step we needed to take for next time to lift it. But that'll come, I'm sure. But you've been to many an England game, haven't you? Go on, take us right back to the beginning. How did you come about being an England fan?
The first England tournament I remember watching as a fan, but on TV, would have been 82 in Spain. I just remember, seeing England play on the telly. It was like a novelty, they weren't a home international match or a friendly, because very rarely were we on telly. And we were unbeaten, weren't we? We wore that famous Admiral kit. My uncle worked in the factory in Leicester making that kit.
Did he?
I've got a bit of connection with that. He used to show me like sketches that he had of the designs when I was like little, so it's my favourite kit, really.
I'm trying to rack my brains now because I like my football shirts as much as the next person, but the guy who ran Admiral was Patrick someone. His name.
He's passed away now, hasn't he?
He has, hasn't he? So
yeah.
So did he? He works for him now, didn't he? I'm going to have to Google his name.
He worked in the factory making them in Leicester. So I've got one sitting somewhere that will never fit me again because 1982. What was I? 12. I can't get into things that fit me last month now. Never mind.
Bert Patrick.
30 years ago.
Bert Patrick was the guy who ran Admiral. And the shirts, obviously, we're referring to those ones where they had the home one it was all white, but with
across the shoulders, weren't it?
Yeah,
red, white, and blue across the shoulders.
And then there was the away one, the red one.
Yeah. That Brian Robson scored after 27 seconds, didn't he? That first game against France.
Yeah.
I'd come home from school to watch that, and then just settled down, and we scored. Couldn't believe it. So that was my first real getting behind the country, watching them. And we didn't lose the game, did we?
No.
We needed to beat Spain 2-0 used to go from phase 1 to phase 2 of the group stage, and it was us, Germany and Spain.
We drew them both, didn't we?
Drew both games, yeah. So we went out.
I think I'm right in saying, wasn't that the tournament where Trevor Francis and who's the other player? But they only played 20 minutes. Kevin Keegan.
It was Trevor Brook and Kevin Keegan. They both come on last 20 minutes to try and get us goals, and they both had great chances as well. Keegan missed a famous header with his big perm that he had at the time. He at the back post, he should have scored. But that ended up being his last game for England because Bobby Robson took over Ron Greenwood then, and he never picked Kevin Keegan again. So it was almost forced retirement, really. So,
that they only had 20 minutes.
And he was my favourite player growing up, Keegan. Then obviously we didn't qualify for Euro 84. Lost to Danes, didn't we? Home penalty and and then 86 was Mexico and Maradona and Handegard, and which was brilliant to watch on TV. The tournament itself, it looked like it was far away. Obviously it was, but the grainy pictures on your TV, it just looked like a proper World Cup.
Yeah.
And then my uncle was always a massive fan, Leicester fan, all my family. Apart from me, I grew up and started going to Coventry when I was at school. So I'm a Cov fan, but my uncle, who's a Leicester fan, was a big fan of the Dutch national side. And when England drew Holland in Euro 88 in the group stage, he said, I'm going to go over to watch. Do you fancy coming? I asked my dad, and he goes, yeah, of course, brilliant. You know,
how old were you then?
I was 17.
Okay.
So, not young. But, so we went over, drove, and then over on the ferry, and he drove to it was held in Germany, Dusseldorf. The game was. It was Peter Shilton's 100th cap. Michael Van Basten scored hat-trick. They had a brilliant side, the Dutch. Yeah. Rijkaard, Hullet, Van Basten, Harold Muren, real good side. Van Brooklyn in goal. Tony Adams played, and Van Basten gave him a torrid time. I don't think he played again for a couple of years, Tony Adams, after that, because I think he was scarred for life almost. But Van Basten could do that to most teams.
I was going to say, Tony Adams, was this the game he scored in, or did he score?
No, he scored in like a friendly against Holland leading up to a tournament.
I thought he scored in the tournament. Did he score against Russia, or did Brian Robson score?
No, the only goal we scored in the whole tournament was Brian Robson. He equalised against Holland.
Okay.
That's what I fell in love with. When he scored that goal and everyone jumping on each other and just absolutely going, just scenes, absolute mental.
Yeah.
People grabbing each other. I only knew my uncle and my cousin, in the crowd, and yet I must have hugged them, about 100 different people I never knew and stuff, and ended up from row 20 to row 10 or whatever, without even realising. And I just fell in love with it, being we're a minority because the stadium's covered in orange. The Dutch had loads of fans, and we had about, I think, 5,000 on a day. And I thought, even though we lost, and then we went and played Russia in the next game and we lost 3-0 in that, I just fell in love with it. I wanted more. I wanted to go. And so instead of going Cov home and away, I started putting my finances towards going England home and away. And at first I was travelling on my own, but as everyone knows, you follow England, you meet like-minded people. There's always a spare seat. Come and sit here, mate, have a drink, or just come with us. And you soon get to meet people and make friends. I've made some great friends for life who I would have never met if it weren't for following England. Obviously followed them all the way to qualifying to Italian 90.
So you went to Italy?
Yeah, Sardinia for the group games. And then the Belgian game, where we scored last kick of extra time, David Platt.
Yeah.
Chrissy Waddle and Terry Butcher coming over. Let's all have a disco.
That's a famous picture, that, isn't it?
Yeah. We've, I think one of them's got a shirt over their shoulder and they're all, let's all have a disco. And then obviously the Cameroon game, I felt sick at that game because it's a game, everyone thought pretty much it was like a bye to the semi-final, which is stupid because as we know now, it is England. There's no such thing as a straightforward game. We scored early, everything was going to plan. And then they brought Roger Miller on, and before we knew it, we were 2-1 down, and Peter Shilton was keeping us in the game. And then we get that late penalty, and Lineker such bottle to take that penalty and pull it away. Extra time, and then
another penalty, wasn't it?
Lineker gets another penalty, yeah. And then he should have scored a hat-trick, really. Gascoigne did like a mazy run and squared it to him, and he ciphered it wide. Whereas if he would have scored, it would have been probably a goal of the tournament. Up there with Platts anyway.
Well,
then off this semi-final, Germans, penalties,
we don't need to go down that route
time,
again.
Wasn't it? Yeah, but it was the first time that time. So you look at Stuart Pearce, you'd put your money on him to score a penalty for Forest or for England. And then Chris Waddle, I think they're still looking for that ball, aren't they? So, and then I went to the third and fourth place game against
Italy, wasn't it?
Yeah. Peter Shilton's 125th and final cap. Yeah, it was like the final that should have been, really. The two best teams. We were better than Germany on the day, I thought, in that semi-final. And Italy, I thought we were better than Argentina, who just held out for penalties. But so it was always going to be like that then, semi-finals and competing. And then off to Euro 92 in Sweden and didn't win the game. Famously, Denmark were on the beach, weren't they? And they got a late call-up because of Yugoslavia.
Yeah.
Had really random accommodation. And the first night I got there, flew somewhere like to Holland or something, and then got a hovercraft or something. It was a random journey. Got there so late, there were like no rooms at the inn sort of thing. So I just remember finding these locker rooms on the beachfront, and just going in one, and then like pushing me a bag up against the door, just trying to get a few hours sleep till I could try and find somewhere to stay. And spent like about 4 nights on a boat. Spent 3 nights in Stockholm in a jail.
Did you?
£9 a night. You pay extra and they shut the cell doors for you. Or you can leave them open, like, just things like places I would never normally stay on, and places I'd never normally go, and didn't get out of the group, didn't win a game. So that's €2 on the trot that I didn't see us win a game. Then we had World Cup 94, we didn't qualify for.
No, that's right.
When every game home and away, that was in Taylor, lovely man. We went to, in the qualifiers, I think it was in Taylor, we had Turkey away.
Right. Was this the infamous Turkey game?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, tell us a bit about this, because this one was it's an unfortunate one.
Well, it was good and bad, probably more bad to come from it. I remember, like, in the day we were playing 5-side football against some local Turkish fans, having a laugh. And then at night, it just really turned sinister. I remember we went in this nightclub. There were about 7 of us, and we were all calling each other by their club name. So, they're calling me Cov, Cov, and there's a lad from Brighton, a lad, from Manchester, but he was United, but we called him City, and, just a bit of banter and stuff. And we went in this, it was like belly dancing bar, and we all had a round of drinks, and they brought around the drinks, and they brought a bill straight away and said, you have to pay the bill straight away for your first round of drinks. And they put the bill down, and the bill was somewhat ridiculous.
Well, they did have a lot of million liras then, or whatever they did, didn't they?
Yeah, I know. Even though it looked like it had a lot of noughts on, but when you translate to English, it was still a lot of money. And I'm thinking, there's no way these drinks should be this price. So we all looked at each of them. We all sort of agreed that, well, can't afford to pay this. They're just a stupid price. So we saw the doors sort of narrowing as people like were blocking doorways. It looked like security and stuff. And we just decided we're just going to make a run for it. And I don't know. It must have been like £500 for one round of drinks for about 7 of us. It was something ridiculous anyway. And we hadn't even touched the drink. We hadn't even touched the drink. We just thought, well, that's ridiculous. And we weren't shown no price lists of drinks when we were ordering a drink. And we weren't, not as if we were ordering like a Dom Perignon or something. It was like 6 vodkas and a beer or something. We decided we'd get up and say, no, we're going to leave it. Saying you got to pay. And we just sort of just brushed out. And then the doorman started chasing us, and you sort of like see a bit like a shiny glimmering thing in your eye, and weren't sure what it was. And then one of them said, they've got machetes.
No.
I thought, bloody hell. And it's one of them moments where you're running, but you're sort of laughing as well while you're running, thinking, oh my God,
you just can't believe it.
Oh my God, it's not going to end well, sort of thing. But luckily, we weren't quick, but we were quicker than them. So, but it was a really strange trip. We remember going.
So this was Izmir, wasn't it? I'm looked it up. So
it was the game where we won 2-0. Was it Platt and Gascoigne?
Platt and Gascoigne, both in the first half. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the ground early, but not as early as the Turkish fans. They looked like they'd been in maybe 2 hours before we got there. Maybe
right.
The atmosphere was very hostile. Probably scariest I felt being in the ground while following England up until that point. They were throwing rocks and stones and coins at us. And
were there many England fans there? This was 93.
I'm thinking maybe 1,500, something like that.
Okay. Decent.
Decent amount. Yeah. I was next to a lad from Brighton. I just remember him getting hit in the side of the face, and next thing there was like blood. His hand was up against his eye and stuff, and blood everywhere. And got into some first aid people, and they just took him away and started dealing with him. But I didn't really know what had happened to him at the time. I remember taking my jeans off and put them over my head.
Right.
And watch through the zip hole of me fly of my jeans the rest of the game. I know it's crazy, but we were still getting hit by stuff. I thought, well, it might hit me and hurt me, but it's not going to hurt me or worse. I think the lad, he ended up losing his sight in one eye.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Absolutely good. And when you hear that, and
no one should be going to a football match and lose sight, lose an eye or, a limb or even lose their life. It was just so devastating to hear. Being there, he didn't know the extent of, his injury at the time. And it weren't until we got back off the trip that I read, I think it was like in the News of the World.
It was a couple of page spread, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he offered him, I think it was £10,000 compensation. I don't think he could put a price on something like your sight or... Wow. But fair play to Mark. It hasn't stopped him going games.
No, I've been fortunate enough to speak to him.
Yeah, he goes all around the world. I don't know if it ever got to him because I contacted the tour company that we went with. I think they went bust shortly after because something went wrong on the trip. But I tried to contact them to get Mark's details, but obviously, for whatever reason, they said they couldn't. But if I wanted to pass on any sort of message, then they'd pass it on. I went to my club, Coventry City, and got them the whole squad to sign a football.
Did you? Okay.
And then sent it to the tour company, but never heard back whether it got passed on to Mark or not. It's just a little bit of, something to say, I'm there with you sort of, mate.
Yeah.
That game, we won, Gazza and Platt scored. But just remember the day after the game, we were heading back to the airport. Me alongside, I think 5 of us got our bags stolen. While they were chucking their bags onto the bus underneath.
Right.
It looked like they were chucking them all down. Obviously, about 6 of us didn't get our bags chucked on, or maybe more than 6, but 6 of us were stupid enough to have our passport in our hold-all bag.
Live and learn.
Taking the coach. And we got to the airport, all looking around, thinking, where's our bags? And he hadn't chucked them on and kept them. And obviously, passport was in it, so the British consulate had to come out to try and give us like a temporary pass to get on the plane. So we were standing there in the airport, no money, well, very little money. I had some change on me, and the England squad came into the airport, and it was at a time where there weren't really segregation, us and them sort of thing, private. They had their own plane, but they just came through the airport like everyone else. And I was there having a Mars bar, and as Gazza walked by, he had a bite of my Mars bar.
No.
I'm walking, so I wish I would have kept the rest of the Mars bar, but I carried on eating it. But it's one of the things where you think, looking back, would have loved to have kept it really. But,
did he say anything to you?
No, he had a mouthful of Mars bars, didn't he? He just like did his sort of like his grin, like and like thing, and carried on walking, just laughing his head off, like. Yeah,
you must have come into some contact with some players over the time, though, haven't you?
Oh, I've been fortunate enough to meet all 11 players from '66. Right. Bobby Moore, unfortunately, it was only a shy hello, Bobby, as he was walking up the steps to Wembley, because he played for my team, Coventry. He used to have a charity game before the FA Cup final. When he had the big build-up, St. Lucy.
A proper cup final day.
Daley Thompson, I remember, played for the Spurs Legends team against us, and Bobby Moore played for Coventry. I think we lost the game, but we won the main game afterwards. But yeah, I've been fortunate enough. I've got all their autobiographies signed, all 11 players. I've met Jimmy Greaves as well.
Yeah.
Who would have played if it weren't for the injury, I suppose, and it changed his life, and Jeff Hurst, didn't it? So Jeff.
Yeah, of course.
I met Pele. Yeah, had a photo, had a replica of the Jules Rimet, had a photo with him, and he was handing it me back saying, here, it's yours. I goes, no, you won it 3 times, it's yours. He signed my book. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of the ex-England players, and had a chance to meet Rooney. Got invited to England training. It was a time when I'll get back to how I got Shrek, but it was a time when I had Shrek, and I took him to England training, and he was the only player that refused to come over and sign shirts because of Shrek. I'm sure he's forgiven me by now, but if I go quickly back to the that like campaign under Graham Taylor of qualifying, we had a double header against Norway in Poland. I did a 11-night trip by coach, and only 4 of them nights were in a hotel. The rest were travelling in a coach full of England fans. As you can imagine, it was pretty toxic, and a lot of loud noises coming out of both ends from everybody, and a lot of drink being consumed. But and both trips to get a point out of the trips, like, you know, we lost to Norway and got a point. Poland, the ground was on fire. It was wooden benching, and a bit of the ground was set alight while 2 Polish fans were fighting each other. I asked the policeman that was like looking after us, why are they fighting? And he goes, well, one lot are from Poznan, one lot are from Warsaw, and they're fighting the right to fight you English. And I'm going, why don't they just team up and fight us? He was going like, that's because they're not very clued up. He was saying like, so they carried on fighting each other, and we got away like with a point. Yeah, it was scary times, hairy times back in the late 80s and early 90s. Yeah, all the way through to probably like Belgium and Holland in 2000. You go right up until then. You go 2002 World Cup in Japan was probably the first time that I went as a fan and got treated as a fan because it was too far and too expensive for the idiots to go. So it was just an amazing tour of Japan.
Yeah, that was my first away trip, Japan, and it was, first away tournament. Yeah, I've got fantastic memories of that. But go on, you missed out France 98. Go on, what?
Yeah. Oh, France 98 was, in Marseille, fighting on the beaches, literally, sort of Winston Churchill, weren't it? It was shocking, the scenes. The weather was glorious. We were camping. We had a right laugh, just travelling round in a people carrier, just decked out in all England colours, playing like tunes and sing song, and just stopping off wherever we wanted. Obviously, playing Colombia in the final group game, and Beckham and I think Darren Hansen, sick note, he got on the score sheet to get us through to. Just think we only got through to the last 16. I know we come up against a good Argentina side, and that famous Michael Owen goal and Beckham getting sent off. Was it Sol Campbell scoring, and we're all celebrating? And next thing they had 7-on-2 because they took the free kick quickly. And
they were very clued up there, weren't they, the Argentines? Because I think England were all celebrating, and there was only, you mentioned Anderton. I think it might even been Anderton who sort of noticed everyone was.
Hang on, they took a quick free kick, weren't they? Yeah. It was an amazing. I went with my best mate at the time, Chris Green. Went with him Italian 90 and Euro 96, and we had such an amazing time. Like you were saying, we were celebrating and looking around. The next thing, they're like 7-on-2 of Argentina attacking, and just to think I think just off the back of like Euro 96 and Hoddle, like very tactically clued up. I thought we had a real chance that year, and we just come up against Argentina side that, like I say, their equaliser from their free kick, where we had a wall and they had a man just off the wall, and we were waiting for him to clip it or shoot, and he played it short to one of the players who cut inside and scored. They just were very clued up tactically, and he had the nous of like Simeone making the most of Beckham's flick out, and that's barely a yellow card, isn't it? When you think about it, it's not, considering the challenge that he went down on the first place to get the free kick was worse than what he did for the little flick out.
It was a strange old game, that, wasn't it? Because I mean, some would say that Michael Owen went down a little easy as well, didn't he?
Yeah. I as he did, I think in Japan.
Perhaps I'm getting confused. Yeah.
That was definitely minimal contact, shall we say? But we went out to Argentina and thinking what could have been, I suppose. But glorious failure, weren't it, on penalties?
Another one, yeah.
But when you think of the likes of Batty or David Batty stepping up to take a penalty, it doesn't fill you with confidence, does it? Or even Paul Ince.
Paul Ince as well, yeah.
Yeah, they were shocking penalties. I mean, do you think Seaman saved the penalty? Thinking of like Pickford saving one for us, or two. You think it gives you a chance then, doesn't it? You put yours away, you win. It was not to be. And Hoddle went shortly after, didn't he, for off-the-field comments, shall we say. And then we went into a bit of a wilderness, didn't we? Because we went foreign, and Sven took us to Japan, didn't he, off the back of the 5-1 in Munich.
Naturally, I assume you were there for the Munich game.
It was one of the nights that was so surreal, like singing like "We Want Six" and stuff, and against the Germans. It just didn't feel very real at all. And it went from, I think about 4 days later, we had a home game against Albania.
It's up at St James's Park in Newcastle, wasn't it, that one? Yeah.
And it was like maybe like 10,000, 12,000 crowd, maybe tickets sold. Off the back of the 5-1, it suddenly went to a sellout. I remember meeting Norman Wisdom outside the ground because he was massive in Albania.
That's right, yeah.
A national hero, because they were the only films he used to get, weren't it? Met him outside the ground, had a chat with him, and I remember seeing him in Albania when we played. He took a penalty, and he took it at half time. He took a run up from the halfway line.
Did he? Didn't he do his famous fall or something?
Yeah, he got all the way to the ball and he fell over, and doing all that and stuff. And this brilliant, comical genius. Just but yeah, Japan was an amazing trip. Remember walking out of that game beating Argentina, and had a guard of honour by Japanese fans just clapping the England fans walking out, and it just felt like we were invited, not like invading, invading. Yeah, didn't go to sleep for 2 days, just celebrating, drinking off license over there because it was expensive to drink in Japan. But off license, bottle of vodka and bottle of Coke. Tip half of the Coke out, fill it up with vodka, and just partying in the park. And just remember, it's this England fan who was lying on the floor. He was asleep, drunk, I imagine. It was a hot day. He was burnt to a crisp, and just rolled him over so he could burn the other side, sort of thing. And I think he was from West Brom or Wolverhampton.
Oh, yeah.
I've met him a couple of times and reminded him of that story. And there was a sumo wrestler in the park, one by one, taking turns. England fans just having a go at trying to push him back, and just picking him up and chucking him into the fountain. I was 11.5 stone at the time, maybe. I'm never going to see them days again, but 11.5 stone, maybe 12 stone. And I just remembered just a really sad attempt at trying to grab a man in a nappy, oversized nappy, and he just picked me up and chucked me in the fountain, and one of them things following England, really. It was just having a laugh and, making memories.
Yeah.
And sadly, we come up against a Brazil side that had Ronaldinho and Fat Ronaldo, and he was a brilliant player, wasn't he? And
oh, absolutely.
I still blame Beckham for jumping out of the challenge on the halfway line just before half time. I think he was thinking, trying to be clever and let the ball go out of play, and he jumped up and they kept it in, played it inside to Ronaldinho, who did a couple of lollipops, and then give it to Rivaldo, who scored, I think. And Rivaldo, Ronaldo and Ronaldinho, it's not a bad front three, was it?
No, what we'd give for something like that.
But in the last group game, I think we played Nigeria in Osaka, and it was baking hot. And,
I was there for that one.
Yeah, we had this clever idea of playing football against the Nigerians in the big car park outside. And it must have been eventually got to about 150 a side. Ridiculous. You were lucky if you touched the ball. There was a guy dressed up in all the robes, and he had a fly swatter and a hat, and he looked like the king of Nigeria or something would dress.
Yeah.
I just remember him diving full length in his robes to save shots and stuff. And I broke my foot in that game.
You did?
Yeah. I went to kick the ball and ended up kicking the bottom of someone else's foot. I didn't realise I broke it at the time. And I carried on the rest of the tour. And gradually my foot was getting bigger and bigger, like a club foot. Yeah. But I didn't do anything about it, just like medicinal purposes, alcohol, sake. And
that game of 150 aside sounds better than the actual game that we actually watched.
Oh, 0-0. And it meant we had Denmark in the knockout stage, didn't it? But we would have avoided Brazil if we'd won the group.
Ifs, buts and maybes.
Yeah, again, following England, if onlys. I come home and got a foot x-rayed and found I'd broken metatarsal in the top of my foot. And,
well, you're in good company, a broken metatarsal.
What a metatarsal wasn't before Beckham And then Rooney went on to do it himself in 2004, didn't he?
Yeah, well, go on, take us on to 2004, because that was one of the
Rooney's tournament, weren't he? Come alive, and that became the start of Shrek as well, because we played France in the first game, and he tore him up, didn't he? We were 1-0 up, he ripped into pieces, won a penalty that Beckham took and would have put us 2-0 up, but Barthez saved it. And then Zidane did his thing on the free kick outside the box, Heskey foul, and then Gerrard back pass, weren't it? I think David James brought Terry Emery, as we were calling him the whole game, brought him down, and Zidane scored the penalty, and we were all gutted. Thierry Henry giving it the big one, because we were, Terry Emery, you're having a laugh. We were giving it for about 90 minutes, and then he was giving it us back. You got to take it, though, if you give it, I suppose.
Of course.
We were absolutely gutted, and I was there with my dad and my 2 children. We were meant to fly out the day before the first game. We'd booked it a year before England had qualified. And once England qualified, the tour company cancelled the flights because they could sell them again for like 4 times the price. He said you could fly out and you're going to land 2 hours before kickoff. I didn't want to take that risk, but my dad and my kids were coming over for a holiday mainly. Yeah. So they still stayed on that trip. And I flew out a week before to Albufeira and have a week there with my mates. And then met them in Lisbon for the first game. And they just came into the stadium as the national anthems were singing. So I was waiting there. They had their 3 tickets, like waiting to meet me. And I was just so glad to get them in the stadium with me, and then enjoy like games with my kids and my dad. And we were staying in Estoril. We booked it, like I say, a year before. 3 of the 4 England games ended up being in Lisbon. So we just felt perfect, really. I was feeling down after the France game, and to make me cheer me up, I thought I'll cheer my kids up. And I took them. There was a big Toys R Us in Lisbon, and I said, "You can buy whatever you want, one thing, whatever you want." My oldest daughter brought a telescope,
right,
and my youngest brought Shrek.
Okay,
so she brought Shrek, and she was 4, and at the time she had an England kit that was for a 4-year-old, and she played dress me up doll and brought it out in her England kit and come and said, "Look, Daddy, it's Rooney," having a laugh. And then said, "Please, can I take him to the next game," which was Switzerland, and he scored 2 goals. And so we thought, well, he's coming the next game. And then it was Croatia, and he scored 2 goals. And we thought, well, this is a lucky mascot. Then took him to it was Portugal knockout, and Owen scored early. Thought we were going to win, but Rooney went off injured, and he took it to extra time, and another late goal disallowed. I think was it Gerrard, or we scored a late goal. It got disallowed.
I can't remember that one, to be honest.
Against Portugal. I know we drew 2-2, and it went to penalties. And, Eusebio come and kiss the penalty spot, didn't he? And
again, I've forgotten.
Their keeper scored 1, I think, didn't he?
I think he scored the winner, didn't he?
Yeah, and Ronaldo, the old Troy was the winker. He was another, weren't he? And
he was only young then.
I got interviewed by a Portuguese TV, and they were saying who to look out for and stuff. And I said Cristiano Ronaldo before he'd really come on the scene. Obviously, their main star was Figo, weren't it?
Yeah.
But he was just towards the end of his career. Went on and beat us in a penalty shootout, and Eusebio come out and kiss the penalty spot. And the Portuguese were beautiful hosts. Loved it there. My daughter had a birthday while we were out there. They both learned to swim really well. We all come back with brilliant tans and great memories, barbecues on the beach and, with other England fans, like-minded families and other fans who I've known for, like my mate Neil from Ellesmere Port. You might have seen his flag up, massive Ellesmere Port England flag. I met him in Italia 90 and I've continued going England games home and away with him for years. He had his flag stolen on 3 occasions that I've been with him. So I think the first one was in Wally in the Brolly. We played Austria in a friendly just before we played Croatia in the infamous game.
Yeah.
It was this is 2007 for qualify for the Euros. And we had a friendly on a Friday night against Austria. And we flew to Salzburg for a penny.
Those are the days.
And no taxes, a penny. So it was 2 people return, no taxes, and then a €40 train from Salzburg to Vienna. And that's how we did it. And we got jumped on by some Austrians with knuckle dusters. He got his nose, and I got my teeth knocked through my lip. And then his flag off him.
Just for a flag?
Yeah, well, I had Shrek on my back as well. That became a flag for me then. I started taking him to England games home and away. And trying to wrestle Shrek off my back because I had him in like a backpack in my bag. Blood coming down my face, blood coming down my mate's face. We were about 10 yards from our hotel. When I was like scrambling in the doorway. A load of England fans. It was a bar downstairs just inside the foyer. Like, and shouted, lads, we're being attacked here. And they come out. And like, the 4 youths that jumped us. They were skinheads, like only young. Managed to run away and got away with his flag, but not with Shrek, thankfully. But so then he had another flag made. Obviously, Austria, we won 1-0, Michael Owen. Results went our way that night, which meant draw was good enough for us against Croatia. And we were famously 2-0 down. He brought Beckham on, didn't he? In Prout, second half, come back 2-2. Lost the game 3-2. It was raining. Our train broke down before it got to us. We were standing in a train station that had no shelter. So we got rained on for about 3 hours afterwards, waiting for our next train. It weren't a pleasant memory. It's a memory, but it weren't a pleasant one.
No, they all count, don't they?
But it has its plus sides. One, we didn't qualify for Switzerland and Austria in 2008, which would have been a terribly expensive tournament. But also we had a friendly in Trinidad and Tobago to compensate it, which, I went like for 8 nights, all inclusive. Stayed in Tobago, 25-minute flight over to Trinidad for the match. Met some lads out there that were English that lived out there, and they had big kegs of rum that you were allowed to bring in the stadium, and the special Caribbean tobacco that they like to smoke out there.
Right.
I indulged in. Wouldn't recommend it, and then going on a jet ski the next day though. And then hired a boat out there and went out fishing in the Caribbean Sea.
Lovely.
We saw this double-decker yacht coming towards us that said York's Pride, with all these bikini-clad women lying out, getting tanned on it. And we're going, I wonder if that's Dwight York's boat, And it was. And he was up there, like, helping steer it and stuff. And we're all singing to him. And he stopped and we were all having a chat. And he signed a Trinidad and Tobago shirt for me.
Did he? Nice.
Yeah. We had a right laugh. It was just an amazing trip, considering like we only went there really to get Jack Warner's vote that we ended up not even getting anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
We went there and then had to sit and watch a tournament that we weren't involved in. As a nation like England, we're used to qualifying for tournaments, aren't we? We tend to get pretty easy groups really, and that's why we only get tested really by maybe one team in our group, and when we get to finals. And it don't help us. I think it hinders us, really. So maybe that's right. The Nations League being brought in. We're getting tougher games, aren't we? Rather than the friendlies and some of the groups that we end up getting.
Yeah.
Obviously, from there, we went to South Africa, 2010. Again, went with my kids and my dad, some of my mates that I met. Kazakhstan in our qualifying group, flying like thousands of miles for a European qualifier.
Yeah, I've heard so many stories about Kazakhstan. It's great.
Such a crazy trip because you're flying halfway around Europe, hearing the captain saying we're going over like Chinese airspace and stuff almost to get to Kazakhstan, and you're landing in a place that you've only seen like on TV, sort of Borat making fun of, sort of, that weren't even filmed in Kazakhstan, them scenes, and they were so accommodating, so friendly. First night there, we drank the bar out of its alcohol, as England fans do, because there were only a few England fans in certain hotels, and they just weren't used to seeing this many people come and just drink. And it was where I met, he went on to be my best man at my wedding. I was sitting there having a drink and there was a spare seat. A bloke come over from Kozil, a Villa fan. If I knew he was a Villa fan, I wouldn't have let him sit next to me, to be fair. But me being a Cov fan, he just said, anyone sitting there? I goes, nah, as you do, if you're travelling on your own or travelling with groups, more the merrier. And as long as you're all like-minded and sound of mind, debatable. But we sat and we got on and we started chatting and knew like same sort of people and same sort of areas around Cov, because he got brought up in and around Cov and got on really well. And I started saying, I'm going this game, do you fancy coming? And then, because he didn't go, we went most games, but not every game back then. And I could be quite persuasive when I meet someone I like and I think, well, you're really going to enjoy this place that I'm going next. you know, and I think I'll enjoy it more if you come along. He was hooked. And then I met 3 guys also in Trinidad and Tobago that ended up coming to games with me then on. And I remember sitting there as the draw was being made for South Africa. I was sitting there with 13 passports and people's details, all booking flights, internal flights, accommodation for all of us as the draw was being made.
Yeah. And
we made our base Port Elizabeth. And then when one of England's group games got drawn in Port Elizabeth, I think the final third group game.
Slovenia or Slovakia.
Slovakia, it's one of them, yes. We made it our base. Apartments overlooking the Indian Ocean. It was just beautiful. And then we flew in and out to the other destinations. You know, first one's in Rustenburg.
Yeah.
We stayed in a place called Lucky's Bar, and it played all English tunes. You just pay a fee to get in, and then all your food and drink were free. Pick up your own like slabs of steak, and then put them on a barbecue, and you cook them yourself with someone watching it while you do it and stuff. And then you go up to the bar and have whatever you want to drink and stuff. And Sky News were there filming England fans, you know, there. Me and my mate Neil were on, and a friend of mine, Kelly, he got a load of the bread cobs, the burgers and hot dogs were going in, and started shoving them down his shorts. So he was looking like he was well packed for the interview, like, and stuff. And just remember him like taking them out and then feeding the African kids while we were on our way to the stadium and stuff. And it was a sight to be seen. And one of my mates, he was got caught on camera looking absolutely six of parrot, like when Rob Green did the horrendous mistake.
Yeah, it's against America.
Yeah, he looked like the worst thing he'd ever seen. He looked terrible. It was on camera, but what the camera didn't know, he'd ate so many sweets before the match that he couldn't stop throwing up, and that's why he looked terrible. Not because of obviously we all gutted because of what happened. He was sick because of eating too many sweets, not because of the result. Then his actual birthday was on the day of the Algeria game.
Oh, happy birthday.
Shocking game.
Good,
But again, we drank the bar out of... I'm not a great beer drinker. I'll drink pints. I'll drink like cider, but mainly I'll drink vodka. We drank the bar out of vodka. And so my mate says, why didn't you try this like Captain Morgan spice rum? It's really smooth. It's nice. Oh, my God. What a mistake, or what a victory. It become my favourite drink. I drink that everywhere now. We went up Table Mountain, and then we were meant to go Robin Island. My mate lost his camera while we were up on Table Mountain. So we missed the cable car coming down to get the boat for Robin Island. Eventually he found his camera. It was in his bag. Having traced around the whole of Table Mountain again, revisiting where we'd been, and then re-looking in his bag and finding it at the bottom of his bag.
Oh, some choice words there, I bet.
So there was. So we went back down to see if we get a refund, because there was no more trips out to Robin Island because the water was too choppy. And they're going, sorry, we could give you a voucher if you ever want to go. And we thought, well, we're never coming back to Cape Town again, realistically. I just filled out the voucher that they were giving me. I put the name down Mickey Mouse, which did come back to haunt me later in the tournament. But we then went on to Port Elizabeth, back to our base. My daughter had another birthday. She turned 13, so she's been quite lucky with birthdays in June at tournaments.
Yeah.
So back to Port Elizabeth, celebrated her birthday on the beach, had a party for her. And then there was a boardwalk with all restaurants and shops and arcading. My kids would go off playing. We had walkie-talkies that could speak to me, back to me and stuff. And we booked into a place called Squires. It had like big screens. It had like big horseshoe booth that seated the 13 of us.
Yeah. And
we watched 3 games a day on there because, start the World Cup is a game every few hours. It was, it's brilliant for a football fan. And we'd book in there, and normally it was first come, first served, but because we'd stayed and watched all 3 games, it goes, if you want to come back, give us your name, we'll give you the same seats. So they kept you in seats. So every time we'd come back and watch 3 games a day, and we'd have starters, mains, desserts, drinks all throughout, and then eat again later in the day, and then just give us a bill at the end of the day. And it was ridiculous money and stuff. But we felt, made so welcome, we wanted to come back. We watched the final England game, won 1-0, straight to victory. But I met Frank Skinner and David Baddiel at the Slovenia-Slovakia game.
Yeah.
And I'd met them previously in Germany in 2006, and I had a replica World Cup that I had. And they asked couldn't he come have a photo with me with the World Cup? And I had a photo with them. And then I saw him in the Slovenia game, and they had Alan Davis with them as well. And he goes, "Didn't we have a photo with you in Germany?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah." I goes, "Oh, well, it proved to be lucky, didn't it?" Like joking, because we weren't very good in Germany, were we? And we had a photo again with me in the World Cup, and with Shrek this time.
Yeah.
Brilliant memories. We went from there, said goodbye to my kids, my dad, went on to Bloemfontein for the massacre. You know, Lampard clearly crossed the line. Just so far over the line. We were sitting on the halfway line, basically, but we could see it. We were celebrating the goal. We could see it, you know, and then behind us was all this corporate suites, and you could see on the TVs, the replays. And then the next morning we were deciding what we were going to do. Are we going to try and get a flight home early? Because our flight originally was 2 days after the final. I went to the airport just to inquire, and the referees, the officials from the game were there.
Were they?
Being presented like crystal gifts from UEFA, but with armed guards around them. But basically, that's the end of their tournament. Because of that, they didn't make it again in the tournament. But just remember, just being given gifts and thinking like, that's just crazy. And it's probably why we got VAR now, really, isn't it? When you think about it.
Highly likely, yeah. God, just you say about the trophies, like the World Cup trophy that you've got, and with the tournament just gone, you've got the trophy. Yeah. Well, how did you come about getting those? Because I mean, I had my photo taken with your World Cup one. I think it was for the 2018 draw when we'd done the Travel Club.
It was at Wembley, weren't it?
Yeah. I mean, they're spot on as far as I'm concerned. How did you come about those?
Well, in Germany, I went with Shrek and came back with the World Cup. Somebody was selling one outside the ground. It was about 40 quid. I thought it seemed quite a lot at the time, but when I've looked since about other replicas and stuff, it's probably a really good price. And I brought it, and then I've taken photos with Badil and Skinner. Yeah. And just thought maybe like the final qualifying game of qualifying for a World Cup, or friendlies leading up to it, or getting to a World Cup, I'll take it with me. Obviously, I've took it. I actually got one in France '98.
You've got two, have you?
I've got about 6. If I see anyone selling one at a World Cup, I brought one made out of a basket weaved in South Africa. Yeah. And a chocolate one from Brazil in foil. I'm a sucker for if I see one, I've almost like tried to continue my, if I go to a World Cup with England, I'll buy another replica, like even if it's like a miniature one or a different size one, or well, it's not a lucky superstition, is it? It's proved not to be. But the one I brought in France '98 got dropped, and they're made of like resin, and they could chip and break quite easily. I've had a couple of Euro ones that have been dropped. One in this tournament got dropped after the Scotland game. Too much shrink and not enough enjoyment. Quickly got it glued back together by my daughter. My daughter's brilliant at doing anything arty, and she made like my giant Harry Maguire mask and stuff like that that I took to.
I saw that.
That you might have seen.
Good stuff.
France '98 brought it originally, then brought again Germany 2006. I got one in Japan as well. The one I got in Japan is the best one I've got.
Yeah. It's
to the dimensions, but I'm not sure what it's made of, but it's so heavy. It'd be too heavy to start waving about and celebrating.
Right. Good for a doorstop.
Yeah. Perfect for doorstop. Yeah. Or burglar.
Yeah.
There, let's leave that one there until the next time. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. That was the first of a 2-part chat with Coventry and England fan Brian Wright. Stay tuned for the second part. It will be coming your way soon. So please stay subscribed. You won't miss it. Now, in the meantime, don't forget you can follow the podcast on all the usual social media channels, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Just search 3 Lions Podcast. And if you happen to be on the likes of iTunes, why not write a little review on there too? Always appreciated. Now, I will of course be back with you very soon with some more England content.
So until the next time, cheers.